Ukrainian forces delivered a major blow to the Russian fleet by carrying out a large-scale coordinated operation against maritime targets operating around the Black Sea and the Sea of Azov. A number of vessels belonging to the Russian military fleet were identified, tracked and struck with precision-guided weapon systems, leaving them unable to continue their assigned missions. A total of 7 Russian vessels were detected by the armed forces of Ukraine and hit in a sequence of timed attacks. The targets included 3 fuel tankers and 4 cargo ships operating around the Black Sea and the Sea of Azov. The intense strike wave rendered these vessels inoperable and caused serious damage to Russia's maritime logistics and supply network. The loss of these ships also restricted the Russian military's ability to move fuel, equipment, ammunition, and other critical supplies across the region. The operation is being described as one of Ukraine's most effective attacks against Russian naval assets in recent months. Russia has been regarded as one of the strongest armed forces in the world in terms of air, land, and naval power. However, the repeated loss of equipment, heavy weapon systems, strategic vehicles, and key logistical assets is steadily changing the balance on the battlefield. Each major Russian loss strengthens Ukraine's confidence, raises morale among Ukrainian units, and creates more favorable conditions for planning new operations. Successes achieved both along the front line and deep behind Russian positions are increasing Ukraine's operational tempo while placing additional pressure on Russian troops. These high-value losses are forcing Russian commanders to spend more time replacing losses, reorganizing supply routes, relocating defensive units, and protecting infrastructure that was previously considered secure. Ukraine is attempting to preserve this pressure and prevent Russian forces from recovering, restoring damaged supply networks, and replacing destroyed systems. During the past week, Ukrainian units seeking to inflict continuous damage on Russian forces through unmanned systems carried out several successful operations. Supported by precise intelligence, Ukrainian troops launched direct strikes against targets, including fuel and gasoline tankers, strategic reserve sites, military ammunition depots, barracks, command centers, ships, and a number of other critical Russian military assets. These attacks caused physical losses, but their effects extended beyond the impact sites. Damage to fuel storage and tanker capacity reduced the ability of Russian ground and naval units to maintain regular movement. Strikes on ammunition depots threatened the continuity of combat operations, while attacks on command posts weakened local coordination and decision-making. The destruction of radar and air defense elements also opened additional gaps that could be exploited during later strike waves. Ukraine continued these attacks and carried out several operations yesterday. By maintaining pressure on Russian targets, Ukrainian forces achieved gains in retaining the initiative on the battlefield. Ukraine has attempted to follow each successful attack with another operation against a different part of the same military support network. This approach forces Russian commanders to respond to several threats at once. While one unit is trying to protect fuel infrastructure, another must reinforce air defenses, repair damaged power systems, relocate equipment, or secure transport routes. The cumulative effect is a growing burden on Russian logistics, command structures, and defensive planning. Ukraine's unmanned systems forces, the USF, announced that they had carried out a large-scale, coordinated and multi-axis series of attacks against critical Russian military and logistical targets throughout the night. A total of 7 Russian vessels operating in the Black Sea and the Sea of Azov were targeted during the operation. The group included 3 fuel tankers supporting Russian military logistics and 4 cargo vessels used to transport military equipment and supplies. By striking different types of ships within the same operation, Ukrainian forces targeted both the movement of fuel and the transportation of cargo. This indicates that the purpose of the attack was not simply to produce a symbolic naval success. but to directly reduce Russia's ability to sustain maritime supply activity in the region. 7 electrical substations located in Russian-controlled territories, including occupied Crimea, were struck and disabled in precision attacks. These substations supported military facilities, logistical centers, communication systems, maintenance areas, and other rear-line operations. By attacking electrical infrastructure, Ukraine sought to place pressure on the systems that allow Russian military assets to function continuously. A ship, radar, command center, or storage facility may remain physically intact, but its operational value can be sharply reduced if the electricity required for communications, maintenance, security, and technical support is disrupted. The USF announced the destruction of 6 Russian air defense assets deployed in the areas of Yeysk, Primorsko-Akhtarsk, and Kamyshevatskoye. The destroyed systems included 1 Tor-M2 short-range surface-to-air missile system, 2 Nebo-SV radar systems, 1 Nebo-U radar system, 1 Castor-2E2 radar system, and 1 Gamma-S1M radar system. These systems helped detect, track, identify, or engage aerial threats. The radar systems contributed to the wider early warning network by monitoring airspace and providing information needed for defensive responses. An air defense network depends on the cooperation of several elements. Radar units detect and track incoming threats, command elements process the information, and missile systems attempt to intercept the targets. The performance of the entire network can be reduced when several radar systems and a missile platform are destroyed in the same operation. The resulting gaps become harder to close. Russian forces may be required to move replacement systems from other areas, leaving those sectors less protected, or operate with reduced warning time until repairs and redeployments are completed. The unmanned systems forces also shared data concerning operations conducted throughout July. According to the statement, a total of 183 vessels associated with Russia's so-called Shadow Fleet were struck during the month alone. Of these targets, 119 were hit during operations in the Sea of Azov, while 64 were targeted in the Black Sea. These figures suggest that Ukrainian operations against maritime targets were not limited to one night or a single concentrated wave. Instead, they formed part of a sustained campaign designed to maintain pressure on Russian shipping, logistics, and regional transportation activity across a broad maritime area. During the same period, a total of 25 Russian air defense systems were neutralized. These losses included 12 surface-to-air missile systems, 12 radar systems, and 1 electronic warfare system. Missile systems are used to engage incoming aerial threats, radar systems detect and track those threats, and electronic warfare platforms attempt to disrupt drone communications, navigation, and control links. Together, these elements form a layered defense structure. The loss of systems from all 3 categories weakens Russia's ability to detect attacks early, interfere with Ukrainian drones, and engage incoming targets before they reach their objectives. Ukraine's decision to strike missile systems, radar stations, and electronic warfare equipment during the same period points to a coordinated effort to gradually wear down the Russian air defense network. Rather than concentrating only on launchers, Ukrainian forces appear to be targeting the complete defensive chain. A missile battery without reliable radar information may receive warning too late. A radar station without nearby interceptors may detect a threat but remain unable to stop it. An electronic warfare system can disrupt some drones, but it cannot fully replace radar coverage or missile protection. By removing different components at different points, Ukraine is attempting to create weaknesses that become more difficult and expensive for Russia to repair. One of the most results of the wider campaign was the severe loss of capacity at the Kerch ferry crossing. According to the statement, the transport capacity of the route fell by approximately 75%. 3 of the 5 ferries previously in service were destroyed. The remaining two lost their propulsion systems and can no longer operate independently. They can only be used as barge-like platforms pulled by tugboats. The route has not only lost vessels numerically, but has suffered a major decline in speed, flexibility, and reliability. This situation is expected to slow Russian military supply activity between Crimea and the mainland. Delays at the crossing can affect delivery schedules, reduce the ability to respond quickly to urgent battlefield requirements, and create congestion at loading areas. A less flexible transport network becomes more predictable, making future movements easier to monitor. If Russian forces are required to use alternative routes, those routes may become overloaded or exposed to further Ukrainian attacks. Ukraine is attempting to weaken not only the immediate ferry capacity, but the broader logistical system supporting Russian operations through Crimea. The Ukrainian side stated that the operation was conducted through the coordination of the 414th, 413th, 412th, 427th, and 20th USF brigades, together with the 1st USF Center. These formations acted at the same time against maritime targets, air defense systems, energy infrastructure, and logistical assets. The operation was organized as a multi-layered attack rather than a series of unrelated strikes. While some units focused on vessels and transport capacity, others targeted radar coverage, missile defenses, electrical support, and rear area infrastructure. The simultaneous nature of these attacks increased their overall effect. Russian air defense units were forced to respond while radar sites were being targeted. Logistical vessels were attacked while electrical infrastructure and transport links were placed under pressure. Each strike complicated the response to the others. A damaged power network can slow repairs to radar systems. Reduced radar coverage can make ships and logistics sites more vulnerable to follow-up attacks. The loss of transport vessels can delay the delivery of replacement equipment. In this way, separate targets became part of the same operational chain. The operation once again demonstrated Ukraine's growing ability to conduct deep strikes and precision attacks across several areas at the same time. It also showed the increasing importance of unmanned systems in modern warfare. Drones are no longer being used only for observation or isolated tactical attacks. They are now integrated into broader campaigns involving intelligence collection, target selection, electronic support, precision weapons, and coordinated timing. When these elements are combined effectively, relatively small unmanned systems can create consequences far beyond the immediate point of impact. The latest Ukrainian operation cannot be viewed only as an attack in which 7 Russian vessels were struck. During the same period, maritime logistics, air defense coverage, electrical infrastructure, and ferry transport capacity were all placed under pressure. The destruction of 3 fuel tankers and 4 cargo ships weakened Russia's ability to move fuel and supplies by sea. The loss of 6 air defense assets created additional gaps in detection and interception coverage. The disabling of 7 electrical substations affected the support systems behind Russian military activity, while the 75% reduction in capacity at the Kerch ferry crossing slowed the logistical connection between Crimea and the Russian mainland. These results reveal the broader purpose of the operation. Ukraine sought to weaken several parts of the Russian military system at the same time. Ships carried fuel and cargo, substations supported military facilities, radar systems protected the region, and ferries maintained the flow of supplies. By striking all of these elements within one coordinated campaign, Ukrainian forces placed simultaneous pressure on Russian defense, mobility, logistics, and operational planning. The operation strengthened Ukraine's position, increased pressure on Russian units, and demonstrated that critical targets far behind the front line remain vulnerable to precision strikes. The significance of the operation lies in how each target supported another part of the Russian war effort. Tankers moved fuel, cargo vessels carried supplies, substations powered rear facilities, and radar systems protected the routes and bases that kept this network operating. By striking these elements within the same operational period, Ukraine increased the combined effect of every attack and made recovery more difficult. Russia must now protect routes, replace lost systems, restore power, and reorganize transport together. For more military updates and detailed coverage of the Russia-Ukraine war, subscribe to NLY Military and turn on notifications.